All right. So it has been a long while since I've done one of these. So bear with me as we get everything sort of set up and whatnot. But yeah, this should be fun. Essentially, I think we're gonna run through one of the '80s designs I did with Tyler Weta a while back, which should be cool, and hopefully everyone can see what it was that we did as we went through it and made it, and ask some questions and learn about it, which will be a lot of fun. And yeah, so I think we're gonna do the one that is kind of like the fan favorite, being just the logo one that was kind of metallic looking and had the lightning and whatnot in the back. So currently I'm in Illustrator. I've got everything vectorized here, so I can just quickly drag and drop it into new documents, and can scale it without losing quality. So what we're going to do is I'm going to mess with the logo a little bit first to get some of the little tweaks and adjustments made to it that'll make it how it needs to be for our final piece. So starting off, this needs to be a lot thicker because we're going to do some like cool mountain textures and whatnot inside of it, and it's not going to look great on a really thin one. So I think maybe even a little bit thicker. Actually, let's do around there. That looks good, and we'll space it out so it looks better. But I'm going to expand that outline and then bring it all together. So do I study graphic design in college? I don't study graphic design. I'm actually an advertising major with a focus in art direction. I initially got into advertising thinking I wanted to do graphic design, and then realized I like art direction a lot more. It's kind of, in my opinion, a little bit more creative for me. I can do bigger stuff, kind of have bigger ideas all working together on stuff. So I ended up switching from graphic design to art direction. So what I'm doing right now is we're going to essentially have two versions of the logo. We're going to have one be an outline and one be just filled in. So that way, it'll kind of make sense when we bring it into Illustrator why we're doing it that way. But we're going to set this stroke a different color. It doesn't really matter what the color is, just so we can see it. And I want to pull it to the outside. So something close to that is essentially what we're doing. And yeah, hi to everyone who's coming in right now. Thanks for showing up. This is gonna be cool. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're just gonna be hanging out, building this '80s retro graphic. Cool. So this is looking pretty good to me right now. So I want to make sure that I'm grouping stuff together, so that way when we go into Photoshop, we'll have the fill, and then this part will essentially become like this metallic kind of embossed border, which will look cool. Let's even bring this out one more, just like that. Cool. Okay, so now I have my outline and I have my border where I want them to be. I'm pretty happy with all of that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to drag it into Photoshop in two parts. So we'll drag the fill as one part and the outline as a separate part. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to make them bigger because I don't want to adjust them in Photoshop. I want them to be adjusted in Photoshop. And so for those of you that don't know, I'm working in Illustrator right now. The cool thing with Illustrator being that I can infinitely resize graphics and never lose the quality of them. So that's why I'm starting in Illustrator, and then from there I'll move it over to Photoshop, because Photoshop doesn't have that same resizing capabilities. So let's try this again. Let's try moving this over into Photoshop. Like that, yeah, that's a lot better. And then we're going to do the same thing with our outline. And we'll put that there. So really quickly, just running through some of the questions. How long have I been in the clique? I've been listening to 21 Pilots since like early 2013 now. It's been a while. I heard them right when Vessel first came out. How long does it take to make a design? It really depends on the design. And honestly, like as a graphic designer, you kind of want to get stuff done as quickly as possible. I'll have times where I'm working with like multiple clients a day, so I think we're kind of like in this mode where we think like, oh, they put hours and hours into that, it must be amazing. But I kind of think that's backward thinking. I think the quicker we can get stuff done, the better it is, at least for graphic designers. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by kind of breaking this up into this mountain pattern thing. So I'm just going to grab my lasso tool and just freehand, I'm going to kind of make this mountain pattern on here. And it might take me a couple tries, we'll see. That one kind of looks okay. Let's see how that looks. And I'm actually going to just turn this to white so blue works, just so it's a little bit easier to see. And I'm actually, I'm going to try that one more time. I'm not super happy with the way that one came out, but we'll still turn this to blue just so we can see it better. So I think I'm going to go, let's see here. No, not happy with that one. Yeah, and this can take, a couple tries to get right. And I'm on a trackpad on my computer, so it would be easier with a tablet or a mouse, but I'm just used to designing with a trackpad. Let's see. Yeah, and I don't have like a specific thing in mind right here. I'm just kind of going for just something that kind of looks mountain-like to me. That one's not bad. Let's stick with that one for right now. So what I'm doing is once I outline it, I'm copying that. Oh man, I still don't love that actually. I'm gonna go back and do it again, but I'm copying that over, and that way I can always come back to this and edit it, even if I'm not happy with my selection. So let's just keep trying this a couple more times. Okay, that one. Okay, that one's pretty good. That's a good looking like set of mountains right there. So do I usually work in CMYK or RGB? I usually work in CMYK just because I'm normally assuming these are going to go to print. So for those of you that don't know, it's just different blending modes. Or not blending modes, but they're just different modes you can have it in. And CMYK is better for print, RGB is better for digital, and most of these I just assume go to print, so I have them set up in CMYK, and then I'll convert it to RGB if I need be. I just think that's easier than converting it the other way. So right now the other thing I'm going to do with this is I'm going to duplicate this, select my pieces, and then I'm going to go in and I'm just going to hide that using my layer masks. So now we've got that and we've got that as our sort of two parts. The first 21 Pilot song that I heard answering the questions was Car Radio. I didn't like it at all at first. I think Holding On to You is what got me interested into them, honestly, and now I love them all, but yeah, that was the first one I heard. Cool, and what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to delete this layer mask and just apply it, so I don't have to worry about the mask right now. And so with that, we can now go in and we can start essentially turning this into our gradients, which will be kind of cool. So I'm just going to paint these gradients on. I'm going to click this lock, which will lock me to just the pixels that are already on there. And then I can just grab my paintbrush. We'll just drop it down to 0 for our hardness for it. And then we're just going to sort of start painting in. So I know for this one, I kind of want it to be black on top. Oh, let's take that color overlay off. And then actually, let's change our background really quick to white, just because we're going to be having black on our logo itself. Cool. And yeah, thanks to everyone still showing up. We're just making this 80s logo that I worked on a while ago. So yeah, I have colors in mind I'm looking for, kind of retro-y colors, and I'm just gonna slowly, I think, just kind of paint these in. Yeah, and then we'll just kind of, I can go back as needed to kind of change them around. But with 80s design, you have a ton of you have a lot of gradients, a lot of glows and stuff such as that. So we're just going to we could use the gradient tool to do this, but I think it's going to come out even better just hand doing this gradient. I think we'll get it closer to what I was sort of envisioning for it. And as far as colors, I'm just going to kind of play around with different stuff that I have in mind. I don't have like set values or anything right now that I'm like specifically looking for. But I've looked through a ton of reference imagery, so I do have sort of like an idea in my head of like what colors I maybe should be going for or shouldn't be going for. Do I do any graphic design stuff besides band stuff? Yeah, I do. I do every now and then. Like I recently got to work on a logo design for the city of Reno, which was pretty cool. And I've done stuff for brands here and there that aren't band related. But honestly, I don't do it a ton because my job is an art director in advertising. So a lot of times I'm working for brands in the ad world. This summer I worked on stuff for Talenti Ice Cream, International Delight Coffee Creamer, Silk Almond Milk. I can't remember if I already said Arby's. I did a bunch of stuff for Arby's that's actually launching in a couple days. That'll be cool. A bunch of commercials and print ads and whatnot. But yeah, so I'm working mainly as an art director in the ad industry rather than a graphic designer, which is like maybe kind of confusing because I mainly post graphic design stuff to my page, but graphic design is more of a hobby while art direction is more of the career. And yeah, so as I'm going, I kind of decided because the bottom part's longer that I want, we're going to take this yellow glow out of the top one and add it to the bottom one, and then the top one will just be a straight like black, purple, white fade, which should look better. And let's put the outlines in because that'll help us see it too. But yeah, if people are interested in seeing my art direction stuff, I'll probably throw some of it up on my account in the near future just because I'm really proud of it, and it'll be cool to check out and see some of the stuff that I actually work on, because art direction is a lot of just kind of it's not, I'm not sitting on a computer designing all day. I'm sometimes sitting on the computer doing stuff, but a lot of times I'm kind of concepting like bigger ideas for campaigns. And I don't know if you guys saw the Talenti one that I posted about the other day, but that was a lot of photography work. So like as a designer, I'm there kind of in the studio supervising the photography and whatnot. And so it's just like it's very similar, but it has its own sort of things about it, which makes it fun. Okay, so this gradient's looking pretty good there. So now the next part, and actually I'm going to just drop that back to black because it looks better on black. So now the next part that we're going to be working on is just this outside thing. And yeah, this will be saved to YouTube, so this will always be watchable later, which will be cool. So we're going to add a gradient to this outside thing, and we want this to kind of look like a reflected metal, kind of. So I'm just going to be dropping in, let's say like 6. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to be dropping in 6 different points on this gradient overlay. And then from there, we're just going to kind of color them. So I'm going to do like a dark blue to light blue. Actually, the easier way is we'll do 2. We'll do dark blue and light blue, and then we'll just duplicate them so that way we don't have to worry about selecting the colors over and over again. So the question is, when did I first get attracted to graphic design? That's a good question. It was like my senior year of high school, I believe, so that would have been 4 years ago for me. And I was super into skiing, and I was making my own sweatshirts to ski in, and people really liked them and like wanted me to make sweatshirts for them. So I was like doing that, and it just kind of grew bigger and bigger until I was kind of like running my own clothing company. And then I decided like, hey, these need graphics. Like that would be sick to have graphics for these shirts I'm making. So I went and kind of started learning the programs in order to be able to make graphics. And then from there, kind of started making graphics for like band shirts rather than just my own shirts. And then, yeah, it's just kind of accelerated from there. So I've been doing graphic design, yeah, like I guess like 4 years now. And yeah, I made some pretty crazy sweatshirts back in the day. It might be fun to post some of those later. They were pretty wild. They were just like big, baggy, colorful sweatshirts because they were made for skiers. So yeah, this gradient, it's just kind of tweaking it to where your eye feels like it's good. There's not necessarily like a right way or a wrong way in terms of colors or spacing or whatnot. And then we're going to use this angle tool right here. I'm just going to kind of angle it. I'm going to play around with some different angles just to give it kind of a interesting different spread, so it's not just vertical, because that's not as cool. So I think right there is kind of an interesting spread of color. Ooh. Yeah, like somewhere right around in here will give it like a pretty interesting, something that just covers it in a pretty good way. And I'm liking that one. Again, there's no right or wrong way, just kind of looking for the gradient to just fill out over the space of the whole thing pretty well. But yeah, thank you again so much to everyone who's showing up right now. We're going over this retro graphic right now. And yeah, like to young graphic designers, I'd just say like keep practicing, keep trying. I've been doing like a design a day for like 4 years now, and that's why I am where I am. But like when I was first starting off, I was not good at all. Like you can go back on my account, look at some of my earliest stuff. Like it's awful. Like you're always improving. You're always learning new techniques. You're always getting better. So my biggest advice would just be like keep going at it. Like keep watching YouTube tutorials. Just keep trying to improve yourself constantly, and like you'll get better without a doubt. So right now I'm going to use this polygonal polygonal lasso tool, and we're just going to kind of mark off sections of the logo because we essentially want to give it like a embossed look to it, and it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but yeah, we just want to give it this nice embossed look. And then I'm going to use a black to white gradient and just pop that right across. Yeah, just pop that right across. And then I think we're going to do color burn on that, and when we're done, it'll give it this pretty cool kind of like 3D, metallic 3D look to it. So I'm just going to do that. It's kind of tedious. Luckily, this is like a pretty easy shape, so it won't be like too crazy or too hard to do. Okay. And yeah, then I'm just filling in, once I select the shape, I'm just filling it in. Yeah, and then filling it in on the color mode color burn, because that essentially will just kind of darken it in the places it needs to be darkened, but not all the way. Yeah, InDesign is a great program. I know InDesign super well. I use it for comping stuff basically daily in my job. It's a great program to use when you have like a lot of stuff you're working with. Like if I was just making one graphic like this, like I'm not going to use InDesign for it. But if I have a bunch of different graphics that I'm trying to showcase to a client and I want to like lay them out in a nice way, InDesign is perfect for that. And it's like, I'd say like the essential 3 programs I use are Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. So it's always super good to know InDesign. And like, I would say any job as a creative you get, it's probably going to require that you at least somewhat know InDesign. So yeah, it's a good one to know. And like, so you can kind of see on this one already as I filled it in, like it's starting to look pretty good, but we'll drop this down like a little bit. We'll drop it down a different way, but yeah, just so it doesn't look so pure black. Yeah, what pushed me in the direction of becoming an art director rather than a designer? That's a super good question since I initially thought I wanted to be a designer. I think the thing was, as I was in the advertising program at my school, I just kind of realized as I was working on stuff, as an art director, you get to work with like big ideas and big concepts and have this visual direction, and it's very creative. You know, like a brand comes with a problem and you essentially get to say like, oh, here's some cool ways to solve that, and here's what it'll look like. And I think that's a lot of fun versus as a designer, you essentially just kind of have people coming saying, hey, we need you to make this, which is like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. And like, I do love design, but I just kind of found more of a love in saying like, hey, let me come up with these cool executions and this cool visual direction rather than just saying like, hey, can you make this for our brand? So yeah, I just kind of felt like the big ideas and the big concepts were more me than the graphic design was. What band, artist, etc. is your dream to design for? That's a great question. I think honestly, if I could design for Paul McCartney, like that would be the coolest thing ever. Like my dad loves the Beatles, and like if I could go tell my dad that I designed for Paul McCartney, he would lose it. And I think that'd be super fun to do. Yeah, probably just some like vintage rock band that like everyone knows. I think that'd be like one of my dream clients to work with. And like some of you may have noticed, but I've been super into this whole kind of like vintage rock inspired sort of look with a lot of the stuff I've been doing lately. Like obviously this that we're working on right now is kind of inspired by some vintage rock imagery. So I just think it'd be fun to kind of play around with that style for some old bands. Let's see. So I'm trying to read all of your comments on my phone because I don't have my split screen up today. It's not working, unfortunately. So, let's see. The hardest part of my job is honestly just like sometimes the hours are insane. Like, um, you'll sometimes you just as an art director, you're not done until the client's happy, and so sometimes you're there from like 9 in the morning until like 11 at night, just doing revisions and just putting together some pretty monotonous stuff just for the client. So that's hard, or just the fact that sometimes you'll come up with stuff that you just genuinely believe in it and genuinely think it's amazing, and the client rejects it, and like that's not always that fun to deal with. So I'd say like that's kind of one of the other bigger negatives about my job is just but on the flip side, like sometimes you get client stuff done early and you're out of there in like a couple hours, which can be cool. Like you can have like 4-hour work days, which is a lot of fun. What pixel ratio am I working on? I have it on 72 ppi right now. I would typically work in 300. I just think I set it up in 72 because I just did it really quickly, and that's my default on Photoshop. What motivates me when I get creative block? That's a great question. That's like every designer essentially kind of wants the answer to that question. And before I answer that really quickly, I'm just going to go in and just kind of delete this overhang I have from what I just drew. But yeah, what do I do if I get creative block? Honestly, like, if you're not listening to music, listen to music. If you're listening to music, change it. Change your location. Change, maybe go out for a 10-minute walk and come back. Talk to other people, honestly, because I think that's a very underrated like method. But like, pick someone else's like fresh brain because that can always be super helpful. What else? I mean, and like the other thing that I think that's kind of like never talked about as much as it should be with creative block is just like know when to just call it a day. Like know when to just say like, I need to come back to this tomorrow because it's just not happening today. I think that's a really like underrated thing because sometimes like if you just sleep on it and come back the next day, you will find that like your brain feels refreshed and renewed and like you'll just nail it like right off the bat. Yeah, let's see. If I wasn't in art, what other careers do I see myself doing? When I initially went to college, I was in a pre-med track. I was a human phys major on a pre-med track. And I actually really enjoyed that a lot. So maybe I'd go back to pre-med. I don't know. And then I guess like if not that, I'd be very interested in doing like strategy for brands. I really do enjoy working with brands a lot. So like brand strategy, I think would be very interesting. Just like logically solving problems for brands would be a pretty cool career path. Let's see. Yeah, and again, thank you to everyone who's still showing up. Really appreciate that. Super cool to have all of you out here. Yeah, the jewelry comment. As a freelancer, like one of the biggest things I'd say is setting up a contract with clients so you don't get screwed over, and also so the client doesn't get screwed over by you. But if you spent hours working on this logo and you never heard back from the client, like that shouldn't happen. You can set up a thing called essentially like have them pay up front and set up kill fees and stuff like that. So that way you're making sure that you're getting paid for your work, regardless of if they like it, regardless of anything. And then also in these contracts, it essentially sets it up so like if if the person is having you work with like very like copyrighted material that doesn't need to be seen, like they know it's protected and safe in your hands. So yeah, contracts are like a great thing to look into. You can find templates online all over, which would be super cool. Yeah, pre-med is like, it's a tough track. Like it's I'm not gonna lie, but it's a lot of fun. So yeah, you'll have fun doing that. And as I look back, I want to make this a little bit darker on this bottom half because I'm not super happy with that. And then we're going to tweak a couple other things, and then we'll go into the background, which will be super cool. But I just think I want to give it a richer blue, like a rich sort of, yeah, like that. I think will be cool. And then we'll kind of go into that yellow and then white. But yeah, that yellow just kind of washes out part of the blue. So I think giving it that sort of richer blue color will kind of look a little bit better. Okay, so this is looking pretty cool right now. I'm pretty happy with how it is. Actually, let's do one other small thing. But yeah, so the one other small thing I want to do right now is we're going to kind of essentially add just a little stroke on the inside right there. What that will do is it'll kind of make it look like this dips down. It'll be very, very subtle, but that being said, it'll look pretty cool. So let's see. We want it to be pretty small, even smaller than that, like even smaller than that. Maybe even smaller. Yeah, like right about there. A really small stroke. There's probably easier ways to go about this than what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to select this. And then on my new layer, I'm going to go and I'm going to create a work path. And I'm going to just stroke the path with my brush. And then when I delete the path, there's like there's going to be a very tiny little, yeah, there we go, a little tiny highlight, and we'll bring that opacity down a little bit. Yeah, just not that much, but just that little highlight. It's very subtle, probably unnoticeable to most people, but I like the small details. So yeah, and thank you again to everyone right now. Like, I really appreciate the love, appreciate everyone coming out here. This is super fun and cool. Okay, so now from here, we're going to go and we're going to start building that background. So that'll essentially first consist of just a circle, which will be about that size and needs to go to the back. But I think this is essentially about the size we did before. So the first thing with the circle is just right away, we're just going to give it a gradient overlay. And it just needs to be 2 colors, and we'll do, we're going to do like a really hot pink, like a Miami hot pink, like that right in there. And then we're going to fade it to like it's like a yellowish orange color. So let's try and meet somewhere, yeah, like maybe even a little bit more yellow. Push it like, boom, right there. Okay, so like that's a pretty cool looking gradient. Let's bring that to like a -90 right there. Nope, sorry, just pause at 90. So like even right there, that's looking super cool, and I'm pretty happy with that. But there's a lot of other things that we're gonna go through to make this really textured, and like, yeah, it's just going to be, I think, a lot of like layers and blending styles to kind of bring this together, because that was like a really prominent thing back in this 80s style design, was just kind of lots of blend modes, lots of gradients, lots of overlays, textures, like you name it. They just kind of brought out all the stops for this kind of style of art. Yeah, if you're drawing this too right now, like that is That's impressive. That's probably hard to keep up with because I have a computer, so I can do it really fast and really perfect. But like it's super cool seeing all of you in the comments, and I'm trying to like design and read the comments at the same time so I can reply to this. But here, I'll describe a normal day on the job really quick for the person who asked that. And as I'm doing that, I'm going to start building up some textures. So I want some clouds in the back of that. So let's go to Google really quick, and we're just going to Google clouds. And so an average day for me would be like get into the office. I may possibly have some things from the day before to wrap up, but a lot of times I don't because it's just not it's not typical you'd leave the office without stuff done as night director, unless it's just like a really long form piece. So yeah, and then once I like get in, get settled and whatnot, and then I'll get a brief from a strategist or I'll get a brief from an account manager or whatnot of just like, hey, here's this brand needs this brand needs this, we need you to build a deck for this, we need you doing billboards for this, blah blah blah. Come, or actually probably what I do mainly in the morning is meetings. So like, hey, like we're gonna get the whole Arby's team in on a meeting, and then like the whole it's just a lot of meetings in the morning, and then the afternoon is kind of a lot of like, okay, now we break up and I'll be doing billboards and someone else will be doing this other thing, and it just kind of just kind of a lot of team stuff in the morning, then a lot of individualized art director work in the afternoon. And like sometimes too, it changes all the time. Sometimes I'm in shoots in the morning, sometimes I'm on shoots in the afternoon after our morning meetings. A lot of times it's like prepping for shoots the next day in the afternoon. It just kind of, it's all over the place. It's always changing. That's why I really like it as a job. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, let's see. I've been doing art for, I've been doing this for about 4 years. Graphic design for about, 4 years now. Just practicing like basically every single day. Yeah. So the clouds, the clouds are looking cool. It's just like a subtle touch, and I'm not sure. I'm just playing around with some different blending modes just to get one that looks just right to me. I don't know all the blending modes as well as I maybe should. I like that one right there a lot though. So that one's pretty cool. But yeah, so let's actually, man, I kind of like soft light now that I think about it. Just I think soft light kind of saves a little bit of that. Well, it just almost looks a little blown out like that, and that kind of saves the color. Let's start with this. We're gonna add some lightning in here, and then let's see from there. So I have a lightning picture that I like already saved, so I'm gonna drag this on over, and let's put the lightning there, and then let's see once we do this. As we play around with these running modes. Okay, see, okay, so let's essentially, that's honestly pretty cool. I'm gonna move the lightning a little bit, maybe make it a little bit bigger. Because I kind of think it'd be cool if the lightning sort of came out of this corner right here, Do I ever work outside of the Adobe system? Yes. I'm working in a sketchbook all the time, and I'm working in Microsoft Word a lot. I use Font Explorer Pro like the back of my hand. I'm using, I think a lot of video editing that gets done. We're editing in programs outside of Premiere and After Effects in our agency. But I don't do a lot of the video. I don't do really any of the video editing, so I'm not entirely sure on that. But I supervise with editing sometimes. Let's see. Yeah, these programs are all. They take a while to learn. Like I'll say that they take a little bit of time to learn. I've been using them for like 4 years. I probably know like 50% of the stuff you can do in these programs. They're just so expansive. It's kind of crazy. I'm going to add a concrete texture to the bottom of this and just kind of, we're going to probably multiply this on. No, we'll find one. But anyways, yeah, the programs can take a long time. And I'm currently in Reno, Nevada right now. That's why my time says 5:41 for those of you that are in other time zones. Do I ever think that I'm gonna make clothing with my designs? It's possible. I might possibly make like my own clothing. Obviously, I can't sell band clothing because the bands own the intellectual property rights, but I will tell you guys though that you will be able to pick up something that I made on the Emotional Roadshow World Tour, but I can't tell you guys what. But you guys, they will have something on there on that tour for you guys, which would be pretty cool. I can assure you. I've never taken any graphic design classes for that question. I am completely self-taught. YouTube, other sites where you can just teach yourself. That's all I've ever done. So yeah, I've never taken any design classes. I'm not a design major or anything like that. Yeah, let's see. So I'm trying to multitask out here. I'm not doing it very successfully. What were my thoughts on redoing work I've already done? I'd be totally happy to redo any piece anyone was interested in for the sake of like showing how I did it. I think that'd be super cool. I'd be completely into that idea. So now, okay. So with this concrete texture I just added, I'm essentially just looking to have it on the bars a little bit, just to give it kind of a interesting little, I don't know, kind of grainy feel to it. So I'm just going to kind of erase out parts I don't necessarily want. And then you can kind of see like in there, it gives it a really neat sort of texture feel to it. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, like looking through the questions really quickly. What degrees you have to get where you are? I have an advertising degree with a focus in art direction. A lot of other people where I'm in either have like graphic design degrees, digital art degrees, or advertising degrees. But then some don't at all. Like some have just random degrees, and it's not like something that's like you. People are more interested in your skills than they are like your degree or your grades or your resume. It's all about kind of your portfolio, really, for anything in the creative industry. They just want to see, that you're like a cool person that's easy to work with, and that you have great work. They're not necessarily interested in how you got to your great work. Yeah, Photoshop's tough. You can definitely mess around in it forever. Let's see. I'll answer really quick. How long do I think I'll be doing graphic design? I'll probably always do it as a hobby because it's fun. And I mean, as an art director, I think it's cool to know design well. It lets me speak upon visual direction better, having that as a background. Let's see. What concerts did I go to? Emotional Roadshow. I went to the St. Paul stop and both nights in Madison Square Garden. When did I hear about 21 Pilots? I heard about them early 2013, right when Vessel came out. My favorite song is Fake You Out. Yeah, okay, cool. I think, will what I did be available at multiple shows? I cannot tell you. I'm not sure where it'll be available and when. Yeah, just keep an eye out for it is what I'll say. Okay, let's see. What else do we need with this right now? We're going to add some little glares to the metal. And I have a glare thing already saved. So we'll drag this over. And like this is just all stock stuff from Google Images, but I'm going to set it to screen. And then we're just going to resize a couple of these. And I'm looking, when I drop this down, yeah, when I drop this down, I'm looking to put it just on highlights. And yeah, like when whatever it is that is going to be available becomes available, I'll make sure I'll obviously post about it on my design page. I'm pretty proud every time I get to work for them, so it won't be a huge secret. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of lay these out in different places, different sizes, and I'm just looking for like lighter parts of the design to put them on, because that's kind of natural. And we'll just do like, you know, just like that. That's pretty good. They don't need to be too big or too many. Just like a couple like tiny little ones just to get, and that one even to me seems too big. I'm gonna drop that down. But yeah, just like give it a tiny little like reflective look to it. Cool. These are happy right now. Cool. All right, so what else? Let's see. I'm gonna move everything over slightly, just like that. Okay. So I think the last big thing we need, so the background needs to be like a, what? I don't know, like a dark purplish thing. Ooh, and as I did that, it revealed some stuff that wasn't necessarily hidden by, or that was hidden by the black. So I'm just going to erase that out really quick. Good thing I looked. And yeah, this is like a little bit sloppy. That's okay though. One thing that's kind of like, this is just like my opinion, but like what your eye sees like trumps perfection. Like sometimes in designs, like I won't have stuff perfectly aligned, or like I won't perfectly erase stuff, because like if your eye thinks it looks good, then like that's all that matters really. But yeah, you've been waiting to see my post about group love. Oh, we'll have some real cool group love art coming. I've been listening to their new album all day, and it's fantastic, and it's definitely going to inspire some designs, some group love designs. How did I develop my style? That's a good one. My style has been developed by, I want to say, like looking at a lot of different things I like, and just over time, it's been inspired by like certain designers, but it's also been inspired by like, okay, like I like this shirt that this band did. Like let me look at that style and just keep working on getting towards that style until I perfected it, and then like, oh, they do this thing in this style. Well, that's cool. Let me add that into like my arsenal, and then this style does this thing. Just kind of over time, like I do have a variety of styles I do that I'm sure all of you guys see, but like I also, like with this, expand out to different stuff. So I'm just kind of always trying to take stuff I love and mesh it together into my style, and then also be versatile enough to kind of branch out into other sort of directions when I need to. How do I come up with my designs? Yeah, let's see. How I come up with my designs is honestly like that's a great question, and it varies so much. Really quickly before I answer that, so I want this sort of scan texture over the whole thing. So I'm just gonna kind of play around with, man, let's see. Well, I'm gonna play around with like kind of dropping it in a couple different places. But as I'm doing this, I'll answer the question. So coming up with designs, a lot of it's just like, I think a lot of times when I listen to a song, I hear a very specific, or like when I hear the song, like it paints a very specific image in my head. And so like a lot of times I'm just, because I'm like inspired by the way music sounds, which maybe kind of sounds weird to say, but like that's a big inspiration for me. And like I'm inspired by a lot of other designers. Like when I see them doing cool stuff, it gives me ideas for my own cool stuff. And like with Tyler and I, like, you know, we said, hey, let's do this 80s collab series because I think we were initially kind of inspired by Stranger Things and that's 80s vibe, but we were looking at, you know, we were looking at 80s movie posters and VHS covers and 80s band shirts and just kind of getting a bunch of inspiration from that and putting it together. So I think inspiration comes from a lot of different places, and our ideas come from just like a constant wanting to always be working on different stuff and new stuff and pushing ourselves in different ways. I think we're going to drop the opacity on these down a little bit. There we go. So we'll have that scanner texture, but like not as strong. Yeah, I keep getting distracted by this chat too, so definitely not alone, but that's okay. The chat's awesome. The chat's making this a lot of fun. Okay, one thing I just realized as I'm looking at it is we need a glow behind this circle. So I just duplicated the circle. I'm gonna expand it behind. Actually, I'm not gonna expand it behind. Sorry. I'm gonna blur it with a Gaussian blur, which will just kind of blur it out in every direction. So see, something like that'll be cool, and that'll actually help highlight that scanner texture too. So probably like right about there is cool. And then the other thing is we're gonna just change the entire color to be this pink. So I'm just gonna copy that color, and then I'm gonna go into color overlay and just overlay the entire thing with that pink. Which like that looks pretty rad to me right there. I'm pretty happy with that. Who are some of my favorite artists? That's a great question. I'll just like list off some. Like I'm a big fan of Stay Bold. I'm a big fan of Brandon Reich. I'm a big fan of Corey Myers. I'm a fan of Nevermade. I'm a fan of, man, I'm probably missing so many people here. Tom Gordon, and a lot of these guys design in the music industry. They're all pretty cool guys. And I can probably, you can email me and I can write you down a list if you really want to. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So let's see. What are some other things here? To me, this is looking pretty good right now. Except for maybe this scan texture. I don't know why it's bugging me a little bit. I think it's just because it's overlaid on like a weird color. Ooh, okay, there we go. See, now that I drop it to black, I like that because the scan just appears in the blur around it. So that's pretty cool. I think we should take all of our bar logo and we should group it. And now we should give this group a little bit of an outer glow. Yeah, let's do that. Let's give it our group a little bit of an outer glow. And let's do like a bluish outer glow. Yeah, that's cool. And it'll just kind of, you can kind of see it'll blend in a little bit. And I'm pretty happy with all the settings right there, so I'll just leave it up for a second so you can see that. But obviously it revealed that little thing up there. So let's just paint that out real quick. Okay. Last thing, actually, man, now I'm not sure if I like that outer glow. That is tough. Part of me thinks it looks good. The other part thinks it maybe kind of washes out places a little bit. Well, here, one thing we can do that might benefit a little bit is if we just kind of shrink this down. I think, yeah, I think something like that's going to be a little bit cooler looking. Man, and then how do I grow my Instagram reach to so many people? I grew my Instagram reach to people just because I've been doing this, you know, for like 3 years now, and I'm just, you know, I have a daily, I try and post around the same time every day. I try and be part of the community, like I try and be active with people. I think that helps build up your reach a lot. And And like hi to everyone still coming in right now. But yeah, I try to like people's pictures. I try to comment. I try to be like a part of the community because I think it's kind of not just for followers, but just because it's cool. But that does help get you followers because then you become part of this big thing, you know, and that's really cool. Does Tyler like Stranger Things as well? Tyler loves Stranger Things. He's the one who got me into Stranger Things. I don't listen to Water Parks. I don't listen to Frank Iero. I don't even know if I said that right. But yeah, as everyone's commenting their Instagrams, let's see. I'm gonna keep playing out this circle, and as you guys are maybe like finding out as you watch me do this, and probably a lot of the physical artists are really jealous, is that I'm just going around and just endlessly tweaking things until I think it looks right. Like I can always go back and change things, which is really cool. And you know what? We could go and add some text onto this. That could be cool. Let's add some 21 Pilots text. In the original collab, I did this part and Tyler Weta did the text. So I am not going to be able to get this to look the same as him. But we'll do something different. So, and this could crash and burn. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing with the text part yet. I do listen to Walk the Moon. We could get a collab stream going, Tyler and I. I think that'd be really cool. I would love to do that. If we can figure out a way to set that up, I know we've talked about it in the past, and that would be awesome, and we would both really be interested in doing it. Okay, so this is like a pretty 80s looking font. So, I don't know. Almost reminds me like I don't know what it reminds me of. I'm not gonna try and make something up it reminds me of, but it's a cool font. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. So now we're just gonna play around with this font. I'm gonna play around with some tracking and kerning and whatnot. Actually, it's not too horrible. But yeah, let's just like, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do right there. Yeah, let's see here. Cool. Yeah, I'm just looking. I don't even really know what I'm looking for. I'm just like looking to make sure the letters kind of look spaced out. That P and that I have a big space between them, but I can't really bring the I in because they'll start running into the P. So like we'll probably just leave it like that. I like the space this occupies, although I might want to shift. Whoops, I might want to shift that. Yeah, I kind of like that better, although I don't like the way the Y runs in right there. But it's editable text, so we can always play around with it until we get it right. The Metallica font would be pretty sick for this. But yeah, I think we'll stick with this one just for now, just for the sake of this. And yeah, again, thank you so much to everyone who's just like commenting awesome things. You guys are awesome, and honestly, like this is going really well. And there's a lot of fun, so we might make this a weekly thing. I initially had it planned to be a bi-weekly thing, but if there's enough interest, we'll do a weekly thing for this because that'd be really sick. Okay, let's paste that color in. Yeah, that hot pink. Now let's do some bevel and embossing. And I'm just gonna, I have no idea necessarily what I'm doing with this, but if we can get a kind of cool looking, not necessarily 3D, just kind of like, I don't know. And just an important thing to note with what I just did is like that I have my highlight on white, my shadows on black. Yeah, and we'll save this video. I'm not sure if the comments will be saved when the video is saved, but definitely the video will be saved. Let's see, what else? We'll put a slight glow on this. This could use a glow. Where's my glow? An outer glow that's also in the pink. And let's put that on normal for a sec. Where's my, there we go, that's what I was looking for. Yeah, that slight glow growing around it, it's cool. We want that spread pretty far down, like 1. And then that size up. And it'll just, yeah, that slight glow will kind of help almost make it look like a neon sign. And I think that bevel and emboss I might have gone a little too crazy on. Let's try and... We don't necessarily... Ooh, I mean, that's kind of interesting, but I don't think that's necessarily what we want. We want just something, just a little bit of depth to it. Just like nothing too crazy. Like almost, yeah, that's pretty good right there. Yeah, I don't know. That the glowing a little crazy. Let's change that glow. But then after that, it's honestly gonna be pretty much done. And then I'll answer some more questions if people want. And then yeah, this has been a pretty fun live stream. So let's just bring all of this down right there. Cool. So let's see. What are some of my goals? That is a well here. So sorry, I'll go back up with a couple questions. If I had to pick one design, only one to keep it and like use it for my showcase, what would it be? That's a tough question. There's one I did that's like Tyler in a skeleton costume with like his arms spread and it has a couple different textures in the background. I think that one's like the most technically advanced, like best composition and color and like contrast and everything. I'm really proud of that design, so I'd probably use that one to showcase. And yeah, but I also like obviously the drum set I'm super proud of. Like that one's fantastic. But it's not necessarily like my coolest design in my opinion. Where I get inspiration from things, like I get inspirations from everything around me. I was kind of saying earlier, like I got the inspiration from this from Stranger Things. Like Stranger Things had a killer '80s design to it. So like I was inspired with Tyler Whether to go back and look at other '80s stuff and '80s feels, and like that led us to this. So yeah, just everything around you can lead to inspiration. I really think. Yeah, just always be constantly striving to have things in the world inspire you, and they will. What are some of my goals? I would love. That's a great question. I mean, like, I would love to be a creative director at an agency someday. Like, I think that'd be a ton of fun. But like, I think like on just a more kind of general basis, like one of my goals would just be like, I don't know, something as simple as just like doing art or like using my talent to basically come up with like to change people's lives. Like that'd be pretty cool. Maybe like put together like a social campaign for something or other that just like I'd be able to say people's lives were changed because of it. Like that'd be super cool. I'm planning on like in the fall doing a campaign about like sexual assault that'll be pretty interesting. We'll see how that goes. Like, I've done one on voting before that I don't know if I've put that on my Instagram before, but I did one trying to get young people out to vote this year. That was a pretty cool one. Just anything where I can say like people's lives have been changed. That'd be a big goal for me. Let's see. What are my favorite colors, designs, fonts? Favorite colors to work with? I'm super into gradients lately. Like that yellow to pink gradient I have in the background, love that. My favorite font to work with has got to be Futura. It's such a versatile font. Like, I love tweaking around fonts a lot and playing with them, and like that one just tweaks around really easily, and like you can make it look modern, you can make it look futuristic, you can make it look like edgy. It's just a really versatile font that I love a lot. My favorite pizza topping is, I mean, my favorite pizzas are margarita pizzas. Like I love mozzarella cheese on pizzas. Man, let's see. Lots of questions here. I'm trying to keep up with them. Who's my favorite character in Stranger Things? That's a great question. I don't know. We'll go with the sheriff. I think he's pretty funny and sarcastic. My favorite episode's got to be like the last episode. let's see. Yeah, everyone's loving Stranger Things right now. This is fantastic. That's super cool. Maybe next time we'll go in and we'll do a Stranger Things inspired design, like, and talk about how they did theirs. I think that'd be cool because it's based off of like a physical process of like using lights and cutouts and stuff to create their logo. It's not done digitally, so that could be fun to talk about. I'd be down for that if people would want to see that. Um, let's see. I should do some galaxy designs. Yes, I agree. I should do some galaxy designs. Let's see. What else? I'm pretty sure. Have I? Ooh, good question, Jasmine. Have some of the stuff I've hand painted or drawn? Do I ever plan on using that in my designs? The answer is yes. I have. I have in the past like used hand drawings in designs. I'm a big fan of like combining like practical work into digital work, and I should talk about that next time because that's. I think a lot of my favorite pieces are ones where I get to take stuff that I've actually worked on and brought that into my digital work. That's like hands down one of my favorite things I get to do. Um, and yeah, there already is a Stranger Things 21 Pilots design, if you can imagine that. It's on my Instagram. You guys can go check that out. Um, but yeah, I think I'll answer a couple more questions and then we'll bring the live stream to an end for now. But question for all of you that are here: if you do want to see the live stream again next Friday, rather than doing it every other Friday, like if you want it to be an every Friday thing, go on. Let's say go on today's post, the one that says like live now, and like let me know your thoughts on that. If you would want to see it every Friday, because if enough people do want to see it every Friday, I'd be completely cool with that. So question about getting into graphic design, and as an art director, like I can't necessarily talk like the best upon how hard it is to get into the graphic design profession. But what I'd say is like if you're talented and you're passionate, like there's a lot of opportunities. There's opportunities. I mean, obviously in advertising, you can be a graphic designer. You can be freelance. You can be at a design agency. You can be in house for different companies. There's definitely opportunities out there to do it. I don't know how hard they are to get, but there definitely are opportunities out there for graphic designers. Like it's always going to be needed in one way or another. Even if you're just doing it for one brand in house, like that's still a job. Okay, let's see. Seems like everyone's saying every Friday. I do like sushi. That's sushi. Love it. We have all you can eat sushi here in Reno. It's fantastic. I love it. I do need to collab with Cassie. Absolutely. Um, what draws me to 21 Pilots are, I think like 21 Pilots is my favorite band. Um, and I listen to them a lot. And I talked in the live stream a little bit ago about how when I listen to music, like it creates very vivid visuals in my head. So I think I'm drawn to creating art for 21 Pilots because when I listen to their music, it creates a lot of like very specific imagery in my head, and it's fun to make that come to life. But like, Group Love just had an album come out today. Like I'm already working on Group Love designs just because like I'm so inspired by it. So like whatever music's on the top of my mind, like that's what I'm drawn to creating for. But a lot of times I'm just listening to 21 Pilots because they're my favorite. All right, cool. So yeah, I think on that note, I am probably going to bring this live stream to an end, and it's been super fun, and I hope all of you come back next week. This will be saved to YouTube, so you can go back and watch it anytime you want. But yeah, thank you guys again so much. I really appreciate it. And